Certainly people, today I thought I'd tell you all where my strongman journey started, what I've achieved so far, and what my next competitions and goals are over the next couple of years. So I think the whole actual fitness journey started around April 2022. That's when it first properly started to kick off. I was training in a commercial gym at the gym group. Initially I didn't really know what I was training for. I just wanted to get fit, lose a bit of weight that I had on me. Ended up taking that quite seriously. Pretty much got stage ready. I'll put a picture in now so you can see what I went from and what I looked like. It was about a 14 to 16 week transformation. I wanted to do bodybuilding at the start. The only trouble with that was the extreme weight cuts, the water cuts, almost starving myself of everything that my body actually needs. Quickly learnt that my frame didn't suit being that light. I think I dropped from about 117 kilos down to, I think the lightest I ended up getting to was about 92 or 93 kilos. And I'm 6'2", so being a 90 kilo man at 6'2", yeah, it might have looked good at the time, but at the same time I felt awful. I was so dehydrated most of the time. I was treating people like shit. It didn't suit me in the end. So what I ended up doing, I just started eating, not necessarily eating clean, but just started eating again, back to normal, put a bit more weight back on, and I felt much better in myself. You know, having a bit of meat on my bones actually felt quite comfortable. Also, I just thought I'd mention, back in, I think it was January 2020, I had keyhole surgery on my right shoulder, because essentially what I had done, I'd torn the cartilage off the bottom of the socket, and it just kept dislocating all the time. So I had that surgery back in 2020, and that was a shifty 12 week recovery, I think. But I wasn't just in a normal sling, it essentially went round my neck like a normal sling and went round my waist as well, and I had to sleep like that for the first 6 weeks. So that was super uncomfortable. So later on in the video, when I go on to say about my other movements, my pressing and stuff like that, you'll understand why. So once I fluffed back up a little bit, discovered my strengths, hit some nice PBs in the commercial gym. I think it was a 260 kilo deadlift that I got up to, and a 150 bench. Really squat much at the time, but I think I was close to 200 from what I remember. Squatting was never really a big movement for me, to be honest with you, because I've always had trouble with my knees growing up. I rode BMX for quite a few years, I played baseball most of my life, but I'm forever battering my knees when I was growing up. And well, I mean, even to this day now doing strongman, my knees get absolutely crumpled most of the time, especially when I compete. Then discovered middle towards the end of August 2022, I think I saw it on Facebook. I saw that there was a Horsham Strongest Man event, which then sparked the initial interest as to maybe I could just try strongman, do this one competition, see how I get on. I entered this competition with only 2 weeks notice, so Monster Dumbbell was the first event, and that being quite a technical event, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. It was then when I discovered Powerhouse Gym that Shane and I ran, and he was also coaching me up until earlier this year, and I started training there for the first couple of weeks just to become familiar with a couple of the movements that I needed to do in this competition. Specifically the Monster Dumbbell, because I'd never touched one before, and just being a normal gym goer to then seeing this gigantic, you know, I think it was 45 kilos empty, and trying to press that above my head in one hand, it was like, what have I got to do here? I didn't really know what I had to do, to be honest. At Horsham Strongest Man, the first event was a 60 kilo Monster Dumbbell for reps in a minute. And obviously that being the main event that I had trained for, I came out with the event win on that, I think. and I got 5 reps on that, I think. The second event was a 180 deadlift for reps. Deadlift to me had always been quite a natural movement. I'm a landscaper by trade, so picking things up from the floor I'm doing all day, every day anyway. So that was 180 for reps. I did 16 reps on that in the end. Then there was a 350 kilo tire flip. And then the following event, event 4, was a 200 kilo frame carry. Now this one caught me off guard because I thought it's kind of a deadlift, other than I've got to move with it once it's in my hands. I'm being so new to all the strongman movements, didn't really know what I was doing. So that was a real savage event for me. And then final event was natural stones to a platform. So there were 5 different platforms set up, which was basically just pallets stacked up with a mat on top. 75 kilos up to 125 kilos. The outcome of that competition, I actually ended up coming second, which with 2 weeks notice, I couldn't complain with that at all. Still training at a commercial gym after Horsham's Strongest Man, and today actually marks 3 years of strongman training. So it's been a crazy 3 years. I've done my fair share of competitions, and we're just going to keep going with it and see where we get. Once we got to around January 2023, or around Christmas time 2023, falling out of love with commercial gyms, purely because the strongman side of things suited me better. And obviously in commercial gyms you're very limited to strongman specific equipment that you can get your hands on. So kind of that was sort of the time period when I was transitioning more into the strongman side of things and really taking it more seriously. It was then Horsham's Strongest Man 2023. So I had in the back of my mind that obviously coming second the first time round, with only 2 weeks notice, I thought, do you know what, I could win this. So I really started training hard for it, smashing through all the events, week in, week out. I did a real good prep for that, with the help of Shane and the boys at Powerhouse. That competition itself, so going into this competition with the mindset, I'm here to win, and I'm not taking anything else as an answer. 80 kilo keg press for reps in a minute. I got 8 reps on that, which was an event win. Event 2 was a moving medley. So we had a 90 kilo anvil over 15 meters, then 2 tire flips with a 350 kilo tire, and then a chain drag all the way back 15 meters. Event 3 was a 130 kilo duck walk, and that was an event win for me. So that was 30 meters in 14.19 seconds. With 4 was a 125 natural stone carry for distance. Still got a fairly good distance on that. We got 63.9 meters, which was 4th place for that event. I told everyone for a long time I was going there to win, and I was going to win it. Going into the last event, it was the natural stones to platform again, 75 kilos up to 125 kilos. This was probably the best finish to a competition that I've ever had. My head was all over the place, but we got 24.18 seconds on that, which was very close. I had Daryl behind me along the way, another very, very strong athlete. And I believe there was only a couple of seconds in it, but the points at the end meant I was way clear, and I won Horsham's Strongest Man in 2023. I completely forgot to mention as well that between Horsham's Strongest Man 2022 and Horsham's Strongest Man 2023, I dislocated my left knee. After having the shoulder surgery from that dislocating, you know, I've got a million and one things running through my head. How long's the recovery going to be? This, that and the other. Me and Anton were going to Muscle Works in Orpington for the day. Go and get a good session in there. Turns out there was a trampoline park literally next door to this gym. So we thought, you know what? We'll go into a trampoline park for an hour, have a bounce around, mess around for a bit, and yeah, I just threw this weird flip on my feet, but my body kept rotating and my knee popped out. Luckily, in the heat of the moment, the adrenaline was going, and I shouted at Anton to come over, and he popped it back in for me. He popped it back in. I put a knee sleeve on, one of the really thick triple ply strength shot ones. Put a knee sleeve on, and we still went to the gym, and I had to drive us home. So yeah, I had the recovery of that at the same time as training for Horsham's Strongest Man 2023. So that kind of threw a spanner in the works for all of the prep. And then we get to Christmas time in December 2023, a competition being held at Rebel. I believe it's over in Eastbourne Way. And because I won the novice category of Horsham's, I then moved up to the Inters. So I entered this Rebel Christmas competition as an Inter. So the first event here, we'll just blitz through this one quickly. First event was Hercules hold, 90 kilos a hand. And 2 was a deadlift ladder, deadlift bar, a trap bar, an axle from 15 inches I think, and then an 18-inch silver dollar. Event 3, 125 sandbag for distance. Event 4 was a 95 kilo axle floor to overhead. Moving into event 5 was Atlas stones. Now, I think I had touched Atlas stones a few times, but not too much. Maybe once or twice at Powerhouse, because we had some stones there. And I mean, to this day now, Atlas stones is one of my favourite events. Atlas stones the platform, 90 up to 130. I did all of them in 15 odd seconds or something. So I won this competition as an Inter, as my first Inters competition. I didn't do any other Inters competitions after that. For some reason, I discovered the 105 category, because at the time I think I was hovering around 110, 111 kilos. So I thought, well, only a 5 or 6 kilo water cut wouldn't do me too bad. And this was Southern England's Strongest Man under 105. As we all know, the 105 category is just stupidly strong. You've got guys like Tom Owens in there who are just absolute beasts. So the 105 category, to me, you know, it's one of the most difficult categories to be in. 120 kilo axle floor to overhead for reps in a minute. Now, as I said previously, after the shoulder surgery, I had quite a severe muscle imbalance in my shoulders. Overhead press, even to this day, is my weakest event of all. So I hadn't hit 120 before in an overhead press on log, barbell, axle or anything. Getting the weight up to the rack position was fine, but I just wasn't strong enough. The second event was a 130 kilo farmers per hand. Event 3 was a 260 kilo deadlift for reps in a minute. I ended up getting 5 reps on this. It could have been much better, but I was happy with the result. Event 4 was a fixed 140 kilo shield. I think I shocked a few people with how easy I picked it up. But as I said previously, being a landscaper, picking stuff up off the floor is, you know, reasonably easy for me than it would be, you know, for someone that's been doing an office job for their whole life or whatever. Event 5 was a moving medley. It was quite a big moving medley as well. So there were 3 sandbags, 100, 110 and 120 kilos, then into a 160 kilo duck walk. The sandbags were good for me. I did manage to get onto the duck walk, but didn't get the whole 20 meters because I ran out of time. And at the time, I was also the youngest under 105 at that competition. People like Jamie White, who's only 18, deadlifting 320 kilos off the floor. You know, the younger generation of strongmen and powerlifters and everything like that these days is wild. The weights they're pushing is just insane. I came 7th overall at this competition, 6 qualified for England. So placing 7th, I was only 1 place off, so I was happy with that result. There was a chance that I could get called up to compete at England, but I wasn't too sure. A couple of weeks after that, I checked my emails and I had an official invite to England's Strongest Man under 105. A shock of a life, because getting to an England's competition that soon on in my Strongman journey was quite a shock. So we put in a huge prep for this competition. Event 1 was a max axle starting at 120 kilos and still to that day I hadn't put 120 kilos above my head. But I was very, very close in the prep leading up to it to getting 120 kilos. I think we topped out at 115. So on comp day, you know, expecting maybe 10-15% extra on the day because of the adrenaline, the setting and all of that. Unfortunately, we zeroed this event again. Event 2 was fingers. I went up to Evo, Evolution Strength and Fitness I think it's called, or Evo Gym, because they had one there. I think it was about 150 kilos or so. So I had a bit of practice on that. Fingers is a fun event, I cannot lie. There were 4 different weights, I can't remember exactly what they were, but the first one was 80 and the last one was 202. I managed to get the first 3 and flip them over. I got the 202 to my chest, but just didn't have the overhead strength to overhead press it and start driving it up. 3 was a van deadlift, approximately 320 kilos they said at the time. And head to head with Mark on this event, we knew we were both in for loads of reps. I got 13 reps and that got me 3rd place on that event, which I was super happy with. Event 4 was max distance, farmers or yoke, so you could chop and change between each one as long as you broke the line with one implement. So it was a 130 per hand farmers or a 320 kilo yoke. I hadn't done any yoke to this point, so I didn't touch it. I went with what I knew and did the farmers. I only managed 30 meters on this because again I hadn't really done much grip. I'd been training farmers, but just on the day, just anything can happen. Head to head with Brett, and this event was savage at the end of the day. So it was 130 kilo sandbag to shoulder for reps. I think I managed 1 and got close to a 2nd rep. We came bottom of the table on this event. We came bottom of the table on this competition, but you know, it was great experience. Met loads of great people who had been doing 105s for a few years, and we moved on. Fast forwarding to June 2024, the Gova Games as an open for the first time. Didn't like the 105 scene because I wanted to be heavier, I wanted to be bigger, I wanted to be stronger, and it suited my frame better. Event 1 was monster dumbbell at 60 kilo for reps in a minute. Event 2 was a max deadlift. Super excited for this event because I'd got used to a deadlift suit. I knew I was working towards a max out anyway. So we managed 313 kilos on this. The only reason it was 313 kilos is because Matt pulled 310 before me and I knew I didn't have 320. So I pulled 313 pretty comfortably. After pulling 300 kilos before that. Event 3 was a Conan's wheel, so it was the weight of the actual Conans plus 120 kilo in plates. Event 4 was a moving medley, 260 kilo yoke, 100 kilo keg and a 166 kilo duck walk up power stairs. So that was a good event for me, got 3rd place on that. And then there was a truck pull for the final event, which was a mystery at the time. So it was a truck pull full of people in the back. It was like a pickup truck essentially. Gave it my all. Hadn't done that before, but it was good fun. So I got 3rd place in that event as well. I was happy with 3rd place on that for my first Opens competition. Then we get to July 2024, again Horsham Strongest Man. My first time competing as an Opens at Horsham Strongest Man. Didn't really know what I was in for. I knew all of the natural stones quite well because I'd used them for the previous 2 years. So the first event was an overhead medley. Anyway, I didn't make it past the natural stone. Just threw me off balance. The axle flew up at the start. But yeah, the 80 kilo natural stone, trying to press a natural stone is much more difficult than people think. Event 2 was a 350 kilo tyre flip again, 5 flips for time. Event 3 was a stone carry for distance. This was with the Willy stone, which is 156 kilos. Didn't pick it up very high, waddled with it for a little bit and then dropped it. So I didn't get a very good distance on this at all. Event 5 was the stone loading. This time round as an open, it was 100 kilos starting up to a 156. I belly flopped onto the last platform. I just missed the 4th event. Event 4 was a duck walk. I won the event, 180 kilos in 10 seconds. Overall, didn't have a great day. August 2024, I competed as an Opens at Gosport's Strongest Man. First event was a car deadlift, which was around 300 kilos, maybe a bit more. Event 2 was an overhead medley, so it was a 110 log for 3 reps, a 115 axle for 2 reps, and then a monster dumbbell at 60 kilo for 1 rep. First rep that I got up, didn't get a down signal for, so I dropped it. Then proceeded to do another 3 reps after that to move on to the axle. Got the axle up to my chest and I felt something pulling in my bicep, so I just called it a day there. Event 3 was a sandbag steeplechase with a 120 and a 110 sandbag. It was a good event for me. I could have done it quicker. We moved on from that event into a 280 kilo yoke over 20 meters. This was pretty difficult because it was in a field. It was quite uneven, but we managed to get it done in quite a good time. Event 5 was a 140 kilo Atlas stone over a yoke for reps in a minute. Managed 9 reps, which was an event win, and I actually came away with 2nd place by 1 point. 1 point off 1st place in an opens competition, which I was super happy with. I can't remember if there was a 3rd one. I managed a 200 kilo Atlas stone with a 50-inch platform. Over the distance was on a 140 carry, but it qualified me for the Aaron Page Classic, which gave me the opportunity to compete against the best guys in England. We had Paddy Haynes, we had Ben Glasscock, we had Shane Nye, we had Callum Swadling. You name it, they were there. And this was the first competition that made me realise, like, shit, I'm in with the big guys now. I think it was the 200 kilo Atlas stone that got me in place though, because it was only me and Shane that did a stone that heavy for the qualifier. So going into the Aaron Page Classic, I wasn't expecting wonders. I mean, I didn't have any expectations of this competition. I was just happy to be there in amongst a field of stupidly strong athletes. First event was a log ladder, 110 up to 170, 4 different weight logs. Did the 110 pretty comfortably and missed out on the 130. Not by much, but they were wooden logs, so they were different to use. Event 2 was a max raw deadlift. The starting weight was meant to be 270, but then it got changed to 280, which kind of messed up the jumps that I wanted to take between my first and second lift. In an ideal world, I would have gone from 270 to 290 and then gone for 310. Instead, I went from 280 to 300, which matched my current PB at the time, and then missed out on 320 after that. I gave it a good go though, I got it off the floor. Event 3, we had a Conan's wheel, which was 180 degree rotations, so it was a drop and turn, 180 degrees, which was super gassing. So that was 180 kilo in plates plus the weight of the Conan, so we're probably talking about 250 kilos total. I managed 4.5, I think, rotations, maybe 5. Event 4 was a Hercules hold, 180 kilos in each hand, might have been 200 kilos, and it was with a Rolling Thunder Gods of Grip handle, so it was, you know, you could barely close your hand around it. But then you're up against people like Tiny, who's got stupidly big hands, one of the best grips in the world, who just held on for a stupidly long time. I think I managed 20 odd seconds on it, but it is what it is. Event 5 was a mystery event, and it was actually a strongman egg and spoon race. So it was essentially an axle sized bar, really long one, 2 bits of tape to say where your hands have to go between, and a kettlebell in the end. And we had to do 3 laps of this course. I managed 2 laps of this. I think the landscaping strength helped here. It was almost like a heavy shovel for me, essentially. The 6th event was at the stones. So unfortunately, the stones were quite condensated, they were quite damp, so a lot of people had tacky issues. Well, I'm pretty sure all of us had tacky issues. I managed to load the 160. I knew I was capable of doing the full run. Maybe not the 200 in a run, but definitely the 180, because a 160 and 180 I can do pretty much every time. But I had an amazing day, you know, meeting all those athletes who compete at such a high level. It was a really good day. I think around end of January, beginning of February, I entered the England Strongest Man qualifier as an opens athlete. I was super stoked to manage to get a place into that. It was on a first come first serve basis. Huge group of athletes, huge names in the mix. So the prep going into this was the heaviest prep I've ever done. Put on a good bit of weight, a good bit of healthy weight, but I was probably one of the lighter athletes that was there. We went into this competition with no other expectations other than to get a few PBs on the events, gain a bit of comp experience at that sort of level. Going into the qualifier, nerves, you name it, were kicking in. I felt out of place because I'd never been there before. Quite a few other guys were feeling the same way. And this was in Gloucester Keys. Event 1 was a 320 kilo deadlift for reps in a minute. I'd already pulled 320 kilos before, so I wanted at least 2, which I ended up getting. I very nearly got a 3rd rep. I got it above my knees, but then my back rounded. Event 2 was a 130 log into a 140 axle, back and forth reps in a minute. Again, zeroed this overhead. I got very, very close to the 130 log, but just wasn't there on the day. Event 3 was a sandbag medley, so it was a 120 to shoulder, a 140 to shoulder, and then a 140 Husserfell back and forth. I think it was over 15 meters. Coming last on the previous event, I was the first one out with one other guy, and I did really good at this event. Moving events seem to be where my strengths are at. I was super happy with my outcome. Event 4 was throw bags, 21 up to 29 kilos over a 4 meter bar. I hadn't really touched throw bags much up until this point, a few times in training, things like that. We managed 21 up to 27, I believe. So I was really happy with that. That was another PB for me. And event 5 was at the stones, 100 up to 180 kilos. Going into this, I knew that, I mean, it was the first stone run that I would have ever done at that sort of weight, to a Giants Live Spec platform. I think it was Giants Live Spec anyway. One of the first athletes out on this. Going into this event, I knew that I had a good chance of getting all the stones. I had a couple of slip ups on some of the stones. It was the 120 kilo that I rushed a little bit. I picked it straight back up and managed to finish the run completely, and I was the first athlete there to finish the run. The majority of the people after that, obviously, they did all of them. So I was really happy with that result. Obviously didn't qualify because you had to come top 5. I came out of that competition with some really good PBs and some great comp experience, so I was really happy with that. The next competition I did after this was in June 2025 this year, which was the Spartan Grit Stone Series. This was a qualifier to get to King of the Stones, which is held in the Lake District. Quite a big competition. They get international athletes over there. It's all natural stones, as was the qualifier. I know I'm good at natural stones anyway, so we were in for a good day here. We were hoping to get the win as well. Event 1 was a stone to shoulder medley, 80 up to 125 kilos. After using the stones for the past 3 years, I knew how to pick them up, so this was an easy event win for me. Event 2 was the Willie Stone, 156 kilos for distance. Managed a huge PB on this. I got 64 meters. Was super happy with that result. Event 3 was a stone throw. It was like a shot put style stone, a small circular, almost like granite stone. I think it was 6 kilos. I managed 9.9 meters on this. A couple of guys that managed to get a bit further. I was hoping to get over 10 meters because that would have been a PB, but 9.9 was still a PB for me. Event 4 was a stone press medley. As I previously said, the 80 kilo natural stone caught me out on the overhead medley in 2024. This was a back and forth pressing medley with a 60 kilo and the 80 kilo stone. I think I managed 7 reps, 6 reps I think, and 2 other guys got 6 reps on it as well. So that would have been a tied event win between me and 2 other guys, and they changed the way that they were doing the point system, so it was the fastest 6 reps, and that's how they worked out the max points for that event. Dropped me out of first place, I believe, or it still had me in first place by 1 point. Going into the last event, which was the stone loading medley. 4 different stones. 1 was to a pallet, 2 were over a log, and then the last one was to a pallet. The first stone was 105, second stone was 125. Unfortunately, this rotated in my hands. I set the stones up how I wanted to be able to lift them as quickly as possible, because I knew I needed to get a quick time on this to win the whole competition. Unfortunately, the second stone rotated in my hands, which costed me a couple of seconds. Beaten by a singular point by Tom Pearson again. So second place on this qualified me for King of the Stones, which I was super happy with. I've now got a nice collection of 3 drinking horns from all the Horshams competitions that I've done. That leads me through to my up and coming competitions that I've got this year. So on the 27th of September this year, we've got King of the Stones. Don't know any of the events yet. I've had my official invite that I was handed on the day of the qualifier, so that's super cool. Super excited to go and do that competition. It just looks so cool. The setup that they've got as well is super scenic, and I mean, it's natural stones. Everyone loves lifting natural stones. And then hopefully around November time, The Aaron Page Classic might get announced. I mean, there'll either be a qualifier for it, hopefully because I competed there last year. I'll be able to go there again this year and do it against some of the big guys again and see where we are. See us through to the end of the year. I think the plan for next year is just going to be training towards the England Strongest Man qualifier. Hopefully, you know, work our way up through mid-pack, if not into the top third of people that are there. But hopefully within the next couple of years I can get to England Strongest Man. That's what I kind of want to work towards. We don't know how preps are going to go, so I think that's the plan for now. Next competition will be the 27th of September, which will be King of the Steins, and when it comes to that time I will be making a video on that competition as well. It'll be a super cool one to watch. I'm not sure if there'll be a live stream for it, but if there is, I'll let you all know. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you made it to the end, thank you. Drop a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and we will see you in the next video.